Hello everyone, I'm here to present to you the grading system and also the table of specifications. By the way, I am Abigail Gomez and I am your facilitator of learning for today. So there are actually two types of grading system that we can discuss for tonight. The first is the absolute grading system. This is the grading system being followed at Cavite State University. So let us see. With the 70% passing that we have in our university, this is how we compute for the grades. You take a look at the raw score or the score of the student, divide it by the total number of items, then multiply it by 100. For example, we have 30 as the score of the student, divided by 60, then multiply it by 100 and you get a 50% percentage score or equivalent score. Compare that with the passing rate of Cvsu and you can say that the student actually failed. The other grading system is the relative grading system. So it is almost the same, wherein the raw score is divided by the total number of items. However, you multiply it by 50 and then add up 50. The addition sign there is like that is your bonus, plus 50 bonus points for your student. You can actually interchange this or give another value to this. For example, times 80 plus 20. 80 plus 20 is still 100, right? Or times 70 plus 30. 70/30 is still equivalent to 100. Times 90 plus 10 times 60 plus 40. So just make sure or keep in mind that whatever is the value after the plus sign, that will be your additional points for your students. And this is already high. The plus 50 is already high. This is being used in the elementary and also the high school. So for an example, we have 30 divided by 60 times 50 plus 50, then that will be 75. Compare it with the 70% passing that we have, then you can say that the student actually passed that particular examination. But what is Cvsu's grading system? We follow the absolute grading system. We highly encourage you to use the absolute grading system. Ma'am, can we mix the absolute and the relative? Technically, if the university is following the absolute grading system, then you cannot mix the two. However, for the purposes of being very accommodating, very lenient, and giving consideration to our students, we may insert some, which has the relative grading system. But please do not use the plus 50. You can just stick with times 70 plus 30. But where is it that we're going to use that? You can just make use of the relative in the 60%, which can be the performance or outputs or class standing of the students. But never use the relative in the major examinations wherein there's 20% for midterm and 20% also for the finals examination. This would be the transmutation of grades that we have in our university. So the highest grade is 1.0. That would be from the how do you call this interval of 96.7 and 100. And then the lowest grade that we can give our student would be a grade of 4. And that grade is something wherein the students still need to take an extra examination or the removal examination so that we can remove the 4. So it's either, if the student failed that examination, then definitely the student will get 5 or a failing grade. But if the student passed that examination, automatically you can give the student a grade of 3. INC is the grade for those who already passed the course but still lack some requirements. For the drop, we have here the rule that if the unexcused absence is at least 20% of the total class hours, which is 54, then the student is automatically dropped by the teacher. However, for this time that we have the pandemic, the attendance has no value. Okay, just make sure that the students are taking the other requirements or are answering those modules that you provide them. Reminders for this time, for this period that we have the pandemic, we need to be very lenient. Try to minimize your activities to only one per week, or you can even give one every other week. Ensure also that at least twice a month, you get to meet your students synchronously to explain your lessons. Do not give them the modules without explaining anything about the lesson. Do not bombard your students with many PDF or doc files without clarifying the lessons to them. So, don't provide them PDFs of book chapters or even the entire book because definitely they will not read those. It will be very hard for them. If you provide them an activity, what they would be doing is to take a look at the activity, then just try to look for the answers inside the book or inside your PDF. Excerpts may be provided for readings. If you really want to have an engagement with your students, provide them the readings, and then you can do some debates on certain topics, or you can have a discussion wherein a particular sentence or quotation from that excerpt would be taken, and then you discuss that kind of quote, whether some students agree, whether they confirm it or they negate it. You can have a healthy discussion with them. Okay. But if you bombard them with many texts, then definitely it would be very hard to extract the output that you wanted them to produce. But still, don't forget, meet them at least twice a month, okay? Next, we proceed with desk construction. So since we are nearing the midterm examination this November, each course cluster, for example, the English 5 or the GNET 5, the GNET 12, the Lit 1, those clusters may decide if they would like to have a departmental exam or individual creation. So when we say departmental, definitely all the teachers teaching that particular subject should be contributing to a particular examination. Maybe you would be saying, Mom, but that would be very difficult because I have a different pace with the others. I might be slow in teaching or I might be very fast in teaching. Definitely some parts of the departmental exam might not be applicable to my students. Well, for that, you can still do the individual creation of your examination. Okay. However, let me remind you, all of you, there are actually four types of assessments, and that would be the traditional, authentic, portfolio, and also the performance, which means to say that your major examination or your midterm and final examination is not restricted to a pure paper and pen examination, or in this case, online wherein they write their answers. Okay, so the traditional is the pen and paper, and you have the different types of examinations for that. The authentic is something which is skills based and is an application and real life simulation. So, for example, you would like to have a stage play, Zoom stage play, Zoom play, or Zoom skit, wherein they are showing real life scenarios, then that is already an authentic performance based. For the portfolio, it can be a collection of their poetry, their articles, a collection of their videos. So that would be a portfolio type of assessment. Performance is also skills based or practical based. However, sometimes it is not real life. So for example, we talk about Greek mythology, or maybe a particular student is just pretending to be let's say a computer talking. So that would be for the performance. The application of dancing, that is also under performance because these are not real life problems, right? So they will be falling under the performance type of assessment. But the next slides would be dwelling on the traditional type. So for you to do your traditional type of examination, you need to create first your blueprint. And that blueprint is what we call the table of specifications. So why do I say that it is a blueprint? I've already given you a copy of the table of specifications in our group. So just take a look at it, just download it so that it can be helpful for you to create your blueprint. There are 3 things that you need to consider first before you write your blueprint. We have the number of topics that you taught, the number of hours each topic was taught, and also the total number of items that you like, but still according to the number of topics that you have taught. So let me switch first. So for example, this is our table of specifications. We have our letterhead on top. Okay, let me take the Philippine literature as an example. So we begin with the learning area. We write here, Tip 1, Philippine literature. Number of hours taught, assuming that you taught the subject for 8 hours. The number of items, later maybe we can discuss that. Then for the mid, we're going to do the midterm. For the first sem, yeah. I just don't have the check mark on my laptop. And let's see, according to our course syllabus, these are the objectives or the contents of the Philippine Lit. Let's say we have the introduction to literature. Then you taught that for 1 hour because we have 1 hour synchronous session. Then we have the general types of literature. That would be the poetry and prose. It's easy to discuss that. So still, you consume 1 hour. Then we have the 10 most influential books. And Bible is one of these. So let's say we discuss this for 2 hours. Then we have the myths and legends for 2 hours also. Then we have epic, for example, Biag ni Lamang. Have it for 1 hour. And the last one would be folk songs or Awiting Bayan. Then we also have 1 hour for that. So please do take a look at the formula. We're in to get the item percentage here. You have to divide the number of hours that you taught with the total number of hours. So our total here is 8. So what do I mean by that? So it's like 1 divided by 8. 1 divided by 8. 2 divided by 8. So by computing all of those, the item percentage would be 12.5. So if you try to compute all of these, 12.5 plus 12.5, so plus the 12.5 at the bottom, that would be 50%. And then the 25% here would be another 50%. Therefore, your total is 100%. Okay, next. Why is it that we call it as a blueprint? Because this is the time that you will know that, okay, I have spent so many hours discussing the 10 most influential books in the world, but I only allotted 2 questions. So maybe there's something wrong with your examination. And why does it happen like that? Because you did not do a table of specifications. So the tendency is that whatever is it that the students read more might be the one wherein you have less questions. And whatever it is that they read less would be the one that you have more questions. Next, to compute for the number of items, we multiply the item percentage, the 12.5, 12.5, 25, with the total number of items that you like. So let's say you would like to have 50 items of your major examination. So you can write here on top 50 items. So what shall we do? It's like this. 12.5% times 50. Okay? So 12.5% times 50. So when we do our calculator, sorry, calculus is gone. It doesn't want to stay on the same page as Microsoft Word. So let's say 12.5% times 50 equals 6.25. So let's go back. So all of those 12.5% would be equivalent to 6.25 items. So let's tentatively write here 6.25. And then the 25% times 50 equals 12.5 items. Okay, so definitely you cannot give 6.25 number of items in your examination. Where is that 0.25? So what you can do is you can already adjust from these numbers or these figures. You can already adjust the number of items, maybe one higher or one lower. So for this one, you will just round this off. So this is 6. Round off 6. Then 12.5 will be round up 13. And then 13 also. If you try to add this up, all of these 6 plus 6, 12 plus another 12 at the bottom. So that would be 24 plus 13 plus 13, 26. 24 plus 26 is 50. So we matched. Therefore, you will provide 6 questions for Introduction to Literature, 6 questions which talks about the general types of literature, 13 questions for the 10 most influential books, 13 questions for myths and legends, 6 questions for epic, and then 6 questions for folk songs or awiting bayan. So what is going to be next? Now, you have to try to plot out already your examination. Assuming I just want to have 3 types of tests inside my examination. Let's just draft it here. Okay, it's there. So your 50 items will be broken down as, let's say, 10 items, 10 identification, 20 multiple choice, choice, then 20 for the essay. Okay. This is the breakdown of your examination or how you foresee your examination. Let's highlight that as red. Okay. So again, 50 items will be broken down with 10 for identification, 20 for multiple choice, and then 20 for essay. So 20, 20, 10, that is 50. Okay, so now what you're going to do is try to break them down here. These number of items would also be broken down according to the different levels or the taxonomy level of Benjamin Bloom. The remembering and understanding, these are the lower order thinking skills, and then the applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, these are the higher order thinking skills. So if you can see, you have the multiple choice and then the identification. You think these would be lower order thinking skills, or are these higher order thinking skills? For identification, mostly remembering yan or understanding yan. But when it comes to multiple choice, it actually depends if it falls under the lower or the higher order thinking skills. And then essay, definitely the essay will fall under the higher order thinking skills, and it will fall here. If you want your students to draw, then definitely that would be under creating, right? But let's see. For example, you have 2 items for remembering, wherein they will try to remember what is the concept of literature, the elements of literature, so remembering, understanding, and then maybe let's just change this with 3, 3. So total, 3 plus 3 is 6. Item placement would just be test 1, identification, and test 2, multiple choice. Okay. So you can just find the introduction to literature on the 2 parts of your examination. Next, we have the general types of literature. Let us assume that the students would just be classifying the samples of literature if it's a prose or poetry. So you can say that maybe it is also under maybe multiple choice. So all of those 6 will fall under understanding. Sa testo lang siya. Then the 10 most influential books. Remember, you have spent here 2 hours, therefore you have 13 items. So assuming okay, 2, 2, 3, 3. I think we still lack some numbers here. 4 plus 6 is 10. We still lack 3. Let's say this is 4. And this would be 3. 4 plus 3, 6, 9. Okay, so this would be 13. Where will you find this? So it can still be a combination of the 2. But at the same time, you also have to take a look if your examinations are really matching what is at the bottom. Maybe you have already exceeded the number of items for test 1. So you have to double check that. Then for myths and legends, let's say I only have 10 points for understanding and then 3 points wherein they will create an essay. So it can be a combination of test 2 and 3. Test 3, which is essay. Next, the epic. You have only 6 items. So you may also do 3, 3. Folk songs. Careful tingnan nyo ngayon. Ang higher order thinking skills natin, 9 items pa lang. Pero ang essay mo, 20 items. So, may mali, di ba? Yan. Kaya nga po, dapat sabay si blueprint mo plus kung anong fino-foresee mo na examination mo. So, you already have maybe 2 papers with you. So, you have to double check if it falls under such matrix that you are doing. Okay, so, naku, patay yan. Paano yan? Ma'am, mali. Eh, di dapat magtaasan ko na to. Show natin, 6. So, ilan na po yung higher order thinking skills natin? 6, 9 plus 6 is 15. Kulang na lang tayo ng 5 points. So, dito naman, 5 points na lang kulang. Ma'am, dyan mo nalagay, 5. Ayan, pwede rin po. Pero, pwede mo din bawasan. 2, 4, 6. Ayan, pwede kang sa iba maghatak eh. Ito pa. 3 and then 3. So, 3 plus 3, 6 plus 6, 12 plus 6, 18 plus 2, that would be 20. Yan, lahat ng yan na nasa gilid would be falling under essay. Then those who are under the lower order thinking skills, either nasa identification siya or nasa multiple choice po siya. Okay. So, let's just have a total. For remembering, you have 9 items. Understanding, 21. Then 5. Then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. 9 plus 21 plus 5 plus 15. 9 plus 21 plus 5 plus 15 equals 50. So, tumama po tayo doon. Okay. So, medyo mahirap din na, pero it has to be carefully done. Ma'am, is there an instance na hindi na tumugma? I mean, I prepared for my blueprint, but in the long run, while I was doing the examination, hindi na po siya tumugma sa item placement. If you're just going to ask for the item placement, it's okay. Because it's your freedom to put the question wherever you want it to be. Even if it deviates from your blueprint. But you will not change the number of items. These 3 columns. No, these 2 columns. You cannot change this. Okay. Oops. Okay, so that is how you do your table of specifications. By the way, maybe these are here. That's 1, that's 2. Okay. So I just did this part, the item placement, wherein you have the identification, the multiple choice. But in reality, you can just remove the words identification, multiple choice. Okay, so I just did this for you to understand what I am talking about. So again, this would be your table of specification. So who would be signing the POS? Okay, so you will just sign it, but you have to submit it along with your examination paper. Okay, at least maybe 3 days ahead of your exam, you can provide me your POS and also your examination paper. Next. So, there are also rules in creating the different types of examination, and I will not discuss this already, but you have to be familiar with this. Just like avoiding double negatives, avoiding the obvious, okay, or providing 2 truths. So you have to avoid all of those. Maybe you can search for them in the internet, but yes, there are rules in creating those examinations. Okay. So whether that is selecting type of test, supply test, or essay test. So I've mentioned a while ago that the TOS will be done only for the traditional, but for the authentic portfolio performance, what you need to do would be rubrics. So we have to use rubrics, and there are two types of rubrics. The first one is the holistic. So when we say holistic, all of the criteria are already lumped, is already lumped together and evaluated simultaneously. So you have a faster way of grading here. So you will just rate the student as 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, A plus, A negative, B plus, B negative. And so, for this example, the food, the presentation style, and comfort were already evaluated altogether because they are written in the description. But the second is the analytic, wherein the food is graded differently with presentation and also comfort. So why is it that we do the analytic? So that the students will also know where or which part of the rubrics did they fall short. So saan ba sila bumaba? Saan siya in particular na bumaba? The analytic one is the one which is being used most often. Okay. But you have to make sure that before you give the instructions for your examination or for your performance-based test, make sure that you provide to the students the rubrics. What is more interesting is that if you try to do rubrics wherein you are not the only one who is rating the students, but you can have a peer rating scale or self, then maybe the leader would be rating also the classmates. And then you as the teacher, you can also have weights for that. For example, 50% of the grade will come from the teacher, 10% for self, 10% for peer, 20% for the leader, and I still left another percentage. But that's mathematics, you can just adjust it. Okay. So the first part is the criteria. To make sure that your criteria is clear to the students. The second is the levels. It is best if you do for me, I think it is best if you do the even numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But not the odd numbers, the 3, 5, 7. Why? Because sometimes for you to play safe, you will just choose the middle. So let us avoid it when doing the parts of the rubrics. But I'm not saying that it is wrong. It is still correct. But in order for us to avoid answering at the middle, then we can make it even numbers. And then of course, the last part of the rubric is the level description. So your level description must be very clear also for the students so that they will know what is your expectation of them. So that's it. Thank you very much. I am once again Abigail Gomez. If you have comments and suggestions or if you have clarifications, please feel free to message me. You can always message me in my Facebook or you may email me at abigailgomez@cbsu.edu.ph. Sorry for some of the technical glitches. Bye.